really just proud of this group. We talk all the time about being Team 128, and everything we do, as you can see behind us, we do it together.
Team 128's improbable March run comes to an end, but it gave some reassurance for the future of the program and the man in charge.
On the other side, the women fall 2 wins short of their goal in Texas, and with that, their season is over.
I'm Sam Covone, live from the studio set. I'll tell you just how strong of a week High Sierra Miller had down in the Lone Star State.
And I'm Kylie O'Connor, live at the Leocora Center. Later on in the show, I'll be recapping the men's AAC tournament and all the success that came with it. Courts in Session is live, and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome to the last episode of Courts in Session this season. I'm Hayden Bandel, he's Gabel, just back from a week-long trip covering all things AAC basketball in Texas.
Oh, thank you, Hayden. It's good to be back. While neither Temple team made the NCAA tournament, they certainly gave us some March Madness to remember. We start with the men as they wrapped up one of the most unlikely tournament runs in recent history. This season started with a first-year head coach and with 5 of their 6 leading scorers transferring out. It continued with a 10-game losing streak, an ongoing betting investigation, and tie for last place in the conference. But after all of this, the Owls ended their season just 1 game from making the NCAA tournament. Temple made it to the title game with 4 wins in 4 days that landed them in the title game against UAB on Sunday. Fort Worth, Texas, the site of a championship just hours before the bracket was revealed. Alejandro Vasquez was on fire to start the game, 4 for 4 from deep in the first half, 21 points heading into the locker room. Sam Hoffman gets the steal for Temple. He was one of the anchors of this Owls defense all tournament long. Some ball movement, High Sierra Miller gets just enough space for the three-pointer to cut the lead to 7. Inbounds pass for UAB, and the three-point bug starts getting contagious for UAB. Eric Gaines with the triple. Temple went down into the half, down 16. Second half, Owls desperate. Shane Dezzoni pokes the ball loose. Jordan Riley gives it back to him on the fast break. Dezzoni had 11 off the bench. UAB up 16. The ball movement was just too much for the Owls all day as Crispin Coleman rocks the rim. Miller did everything he could to keep the Owls in this game, having a historic performance, 32 points, including this three-pointer. UAB is a team that didn't miss and was having fun as Gaines seals it with a 3 in front of his own bench. UAB wins the AAC tournament 85-69, punching a ticket into March Madness. They end up as a 12 seed in the NCAA tournament and will take on San Diego State.
Miller poured in a career-high 32 and throughout the 5-game stretch tallied 96 points, the most in a single AAC tournament, earning him a spot on the all-championship team. He had 3 steals versus UAB and a total of 16 in the tournament, also a record. But it was Alejandro Vasquez who had the last laugh, scoring a career-high 29 with 21 of those coming in the first half, where he also went 5 of 5 from 3. Yaxel Lendeborg, the tournament MVP, had another double-double with 14 points and 16 rebounds. After the game, with the entire team behind him, Coach Fisher couldn't help but be cup is half full about the team and its run in the tournament.
Really just proud of this group. We talk all the time about being Team 128, and everything we do, as you can see behind us, we do it together. And we win together, we lose together. But together is the key word.
I think this was real special into what we want to do in the future because, you can carry that momentum into a great spring, into a great summer to do big things.
That togetherness, you saw every single player on the team with them in that post-game press conference, the tournament, it was a team effort that entire time. I know the Magic came to an end. It was bound to after having to play 5 games in 5 days, and UAB just, I think, was the better team in the end. They're a really talented team that I think will win a game or two in March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at that Temple game, Alejandro Vasquez just took over early, didn't let Temple even get a start. He was outscoring the Owls basically the entire first half, which was crazy to think about. And then when we look at the defensive side, Temple just could not break that UAB zone and the press that they were doing. We saw it earlier in the regular season matchup, and it was the same results. It's just a bad matchup for the Owls. One day before the title game, we wanted to show you Temple's semifinal win against number 2 FAU. This team returned all of its starters from the Final Four a season ago. Vlad Golden is one of those starters and somehow gets that missed dunk to go in. He matched a career high with 23 on 10 of 12 shooting. Here's a Temple takeaway. Quante Berry running the floor, and I hope Jalil White likes Berry because he gets fed down low. Trying to close out the half strong, but Brendan Loren has other ideas. The sophomore had a career-high 3 blocks as the Conference Co-Player of the Year flushes down his first basket of the game. Steve settled, step back 3. Oh my goodness, that is filthy. It settles things down, 46-46. Now Temple up 3. Hayden Miller with the ball. Another step back 3. Oh yeah, you bet. But this FAU team does not go away easy. Davis goes back to work, and it is way too easy for him. He had 14 points in the second half alone. TU up by 2. Miller with the ball now from Hoffman, another 3. You have to be kidding me. He's on another planet right now. Zazzoni misses a pair at the line, giving Florida Atlantic a pulse. Davis with the ball driving in, but his pass is taken away by Miller, and the Owls live and survive. This is March. Temple wins 74-73.
Miller again was the catalyst for Temple. 21 points for the junior guard to go along with 4 steals and 4 rebounds. Miller had 16 steals the entire tournament, a new conference record. Jordan Riley had a very critical double-double as well with 16 and 10. For FAU, the 7'1" Vlad Golden had his way with 23 points, but it wasn't enough. And the co-conference player of the year, John L. Davis, finished with 18 points, but almost all of them came when FAU was trailing late in the game. Temple prevented Davis from getting on the board early.
Although it was not the end the Owls wanted, they certainly turned it around at the right time. A 10-game losing streak that Adam Fisher was reminded of in almost every post-game press conference down in Fort Worth. The Owls turned everything around. 8 wins in their first 25 games. Temple went on to win 8 games in their last 11, with 2 of those losses coming to UAB, the conference champions. This is all close to being one of those storybooks endings, isn't it?
Yeah, but Courts in Session beat reporter Kylie O'Connor is live from the Liacouras Center with more reaction on this magical March in March. Hey, Kylie.
Thanks, guys. Temple men's basketball had a shaky season under first-year head coach Adam Fisher. The Owls went 13-19 overall this regular season, and as you mentioned, that 10-game slide. This month-long losing streak is what made this March run so unexpected. It was a tournament run almost no one saw coming. 4 wins in 4 days to get the Owls into the AAC title game, all from the 11th seed.
We got a couple guys who already been here for some time. We got some transfers coming in, a new coach, and we knew that the only way we'll be able to make a run in March was to come together.
This turnaround really started one game before the trip to Fort Worth. It began with a win down the road in San Antonio against UTSA in the final game of the regular season. The Owls beat UTSA to gain some momentum when they needed it most. It planted them in Texas for over a week.
Coach said it before we even left, multiple days before we left. Pack for 7 days, pack until Sunday. And that's been our goal since we left. So
the AAC tournament win streak started with a rematch against UTSA, then a win against 6th-ranked SMU, 3rd-ranked Charlotte in the quarterfinals, and finally 2nd-ranked FAU in the semis.
I think when you believe in what you're doing, you don't have to change things. You know, people want a drastic change or this or that. No, we just got to keep doing it and do it a little bit more. You know, I ask these guys all the time, give me a little bit more. If you got 13 guys that give you a little bit more, it makes a big difference.
Temple claimed its first semifinal win since joining the AAC back in 2014. It was also their first trip to the conference finals.
Just so proud of this group. I mean, that was awesome. These guys have just stayed together. They believe in one another.
It was a great end to a rough season, but in Temple's case, it's all's well that almost ended well.
All right, we are joined.
As mentioned, there were a lot of positives that came out of this tournament, and you can't talk about that success without mentioning High Sierra Miller. Courts in Session beat reporter Sam Covone is in the studio to explain more.
Thanks, Kylie. It comes as no surprise that High Sierra Miller is an easy pick for Temple's MVP in the AAC postseason tournament. His 96 points over the course of 5 games set a new AAC tournament scoring record. The AAC tournament scoring record was not the only record set by High Sierra Miller. The junior had 23 assists and 16 steals in total. In the loss to UAB, Miller set another tournament single game record and a personal record of his own, scoring 32 points. He also racked up 3 steals and 6 assists during the 40-minute championship matchup. High Sierra was not taken out of the game once. If these broken records were not enough, Miller was also named to the AAC All-Tournament team. And despite the loss, if anything, it certainly does seem as if the Owls have their newest leader. But Miller was not the only one to step up this season.
You're certainly right, Sam. Steve Settle was doing great in the tournament as well. He also made that all-tournament team, and he had 5 blocks versus SMU. He was doing it on the defensive side and the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, these newcomers are really just making their mark. I mean, take a look at Jordan Riley. He can dunk. He can block. He had 16 points in that win against FAU. He was 2 for 2 from the three-point line. And not to mention, he leads the team this entire season in rebounds. There can be room for improvement, but there always is. We can't count that out.
Yeah, Sam Hoffman also was huge on the defensive end. Held every one of his matchups in check outside of Vlad Golden, but that's also because he was in foul trouble for the majority of the second half in that game. But it's funny, guys, because we're all mentioning all these different players. It was someone else stepping up every single night. It was Zion Stanford against UTSA. It was Steve Settle against Charlotte. Everyone stepped up. When someone wasn't having their night, it was someone else picking up for them.
Man, there's so much I could talk about for this team. I could talk about them for days, but remember, they weren't the only team that was playing in Texas trying to get to March Madness.
When we come back, we will recap how the women's team ended its season when Courts in Session returns.
Welcome back to Courts in Session. The women ended their regular season as co-champions in the AAC. Thanks to some unfriendly tiebreakers, this gave the Owls the 3rd seed heading into the postseason tournament. But by the time they've reached the semifinals last Tuesday, Temple was the top seed remaining with a matchup against 10th seeded Rice. On paper, this looked like a strong matchup, but this is March and games aren't won on paper. Diane Richardson and her squad in the semifinals in just her 2nd year as head coach. Starting the game off strong, Rain Tucker, the center, steals the ball and takes it herself to get Temple on the board. That's the 2nd time Tucker has done that this tournament. Later in the first quarter, some ball movement from Rice eventually leads to a risky pass, finding Jazzy Owens-Barnett for the tough 2. Second quarter, Owls down 2. Aaliyah Nelson drives and hits the floor, but also hits the layup and is fouled in the process. Nelson misses this time in the 3rd quarter. Temple resets the offense, and no one picks up Demi Washington, leaving her wide open for the layup. Temple down just 2. 4th quarter now. Temple down by 3. Washington was fantastic with 19 points, but spreads the love here to Tucker. End of the 4th quarter, and Rice has a 2-point lead. Destiny Jackson up top drives and hits a clutch shot to extend the lead. Temple plays the foul game and is left with only a prayer. Tiara East gets as good a look as you can get from half court, but it just doesn't fall. Rice wins the Battle of the Owls 60-57 and eventually goes on to win the tournament. They play as a 14 seed against LSU in the NCAAs.
East had 10 points to go along with 8 rebounds. Demi Washington balled out for Temple with 19 points, also going 7 of 7 in the second half, but she couldn't single-handedly pull the Owls back within reach. All-conference third-team forward Malaya Fisher led the way with 17. Destiny Jackson had 16 points. Sushi and Golafat gave Temple all sorts of problems down low, tallying 11 points and 5 boards. In all, a rough end to a very strong season for the 20-win Owls.
It was a tough game. It was definitely a tough loss. Rice played really, really hard, and they wanted it. And I'm proud of them because we had a turnaround season, and probably one of the biggest turnarounds in the NCAA. And so I am proud of that. I'm proud of that they fought all the way through the season.
The team took a 180-degree turn this season in Coach Richardson's second year at the helm, but now we're going to be looking at some of the seniors that were gone from this season. There were 5 of them, and we start out with Aaliyah Nelson. Aaliyah Nelson, one of the leaders of this team, the heart, you could say. Aaliyah Nelson led the team in points last year and second on the team this year in the points department, led the Owls in assists both years. She's going to be passing the torch over to Tiara East.
Now let's go over to Demi Washington, who played in all but one game for the Owls, and also with Rain Tucker as well. Rain Tucker started every single game, came over from Towson with Coach Richardson, sat out last year due to the NCAA transfer rules. Yeah, I guess that's still a thing. In her only season, though, suiting up for the chair in white, she started all games averaging 8 points and 8 rebounds.
Now, I'm going to move on to Kendall Curran. She only played this year at Temple and had a season-high 10 points against Bucknell, but she received a huge honor while at Northeastern, the Pat Summitt Courageous Award winner of 2022, after undergoing a dozen surgeries and overcoming 3 holes in her heart.
Again, Demi Washington played every single game except for one for the Owls, averaging a career high in the points, assists, and rebound department. The Vanderbilt transfer was huge for Temple down the stretch, scoring at least 10 points in the final 8 games of her collegiate career.
Finally, Denise Solis, and Owl for the past 2 seasons, Solis has been one of the better rebounders for the Owls, grabbing over 500 rebounds in her college career. That being said, their run is over, and according to Coach Richardson, they are already on to next season.
Coach Richardson spoke to media members after Selection Sunday when Temple found out it will not play a postseason game in March Madness, the WNIT, and the WBIT, a result that did not please her.
It was disappointing at the tournament, and we played really hard getting to this point, and then it was disappointing. I thought we had a great chance at winning the tournament, but we had a bad game. Even after the tournament, I was already trying to focus on what we needed to do for next year. And then not getting in the tournament is just accelerated what I need to do to get us ready for next year and, putting the plans together for next year, because I don't want to have that feeling again.
We are up on another break. Coming up, each member of our crew will break down the top plays of the season.
Don't go away. Courts in Session is back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Courts in Session. We have reached the season's end, so we wanted to look at the best plays and moments from this season.
Hayden, Sam, Kylie, and I picked our top plays for the season, and as you can see right there, I'll be the one starting us off. You can play it here. My play really was the one that started the magic for Temple. Hyzier Miller late in the game against UTSA. It's a tie ball game, fading away, hits the buzzer beater. Temple would go on a 5-game win streak, 4 of those coming in the conference tournament, obviously falling unfortunately to UAB. But Miller, this really got him going. He had a historic performance in the tournament. He hits this clutch shot, and he got the entire team ready for that tournament run. I don't think they do it without this shot.
And now we're going to go over to mine. This was a huge game for the Owls, the final regular season game. Tristan Taylor, we're going to see a bunch of screens being set down low between Jalissa Molina and Rain Tucker. Now, Tucker sets one right here for Tristan Taylor. There's about 15 feet of separation between her and Carly Vick, who's going to end up guarding her. And look at this hezzy move by Taylor, blowing right by Carly Vick, getting straight to the basket. And now look again. Tiara East hiding behind Alexa Zaff, and the inbounder has no idea that she's there, and East just cuts right in, takes it away. Temple would end up blowing out FAU, winning the AAC co-regular season championship in this blowout. We're going to see it again one more time. Tristan Taylor going to get a screen over from Tucker. Temple's going to attack Vic. Look at that hezzy move. That's a true freshman doing that, and she is going to be huge for the upcoming seasons for the Owls, as is Tiara East as well.
My play comes from one of the nail-biters this season against LaSalle. You can play it right now and see DeZoni starts with a pass to Stanford, who gives the ball to Settle. Right as Valberg Fasasi comes to play defense, it's too late. That ball is already in the net for a perfect three-pointer. Now this game went into triple overtime, and this was just the shot to get it into the second overtime. Now Kylie, what's your pick?
Now, my play comes from a well-known game back in January for the women against Wichita State. And as Piper has the ball, it looks like she wants to go up for a shot, but fumbles a little bit. She passes it to an open Tiara East at the three-point line, and East has less than 3 seconds to make the shot, makes it on a buzzer beater, and the Owls win 65-63. Now, that's the last of our plays of the year. Guys, it's back to you in the studio for one final time.
Thanks, everyone. We're up on our final break of Courts in Session.
When we come back, Jake and I will both go beyond the arc to analyze what both programs need to do, looking forward to next season. Stick around. Welcome back to Courts in Session. With both team season officially over, it's time to look to the future.
Hayden and I going beyond the arc, giving 3 points of emphasis for each team moving into next season. First, they need to keep, the key contributors from this season. They lost 5 of 6 top scorers last season. Can they keep Hayden Miller around? They need to after his performance. Second, they need to find a big man in the portal. Hoffman's gone. They're going to need a new starting center. They struggled with some points in the paint from offensively and defensively. And finally, they need to stay loose and locked in, the mantra for their entire tournament. That's how they were playing late in the season. They need to keep that same mindset going.
Now looking over towards the women, they're going to need to replace those 5 seniors that we just talked about. Some post players down low, replacing Demi Washington and Denise Solis. Also a dynamic point guard that Tristan Taylor can learn under, that Aaliyah Nelson is going to be leaving. Second is going to be the chemistry. This is a team that was really knit together the entire year, started all the way in the offseason with a B trip, maybe another plan like that, so that the team that is going to be bringing in new players can stick together. Last but not least, the non-conference slate. Temple has done a good job, but they're going to need to get better if they want to get into postseason tournaments outside of just March Madness by winning the conference tournament.
That does it for our last edition of Courts in Session this year. What a wild ride, and I want to thank you all for doing it with us. A special shout out to all the people who make this show possible. Our executive producer, Matt Fine, producers Jacob Smedley and Sam Massad, and the behind-the-scenes work of Eric Mawhinney, Jason Alonso, and Domingo Dominguez.
And our beat reporters, of course, Sam Covone and Kylie O'Connor. And I would not have been able to do this without you, Jake. You've helped me out every day since freshman year with the Sports Brief. It's been one heck of a ride.
You're sure right about that. That does it. Thank you all. The court is finally adjourned for the last time.